Hi there. In this Microsoft Office Excel video, we'll continue with what we worked on before. I'll show you some additional functions, some very straightforward and simple functions, as well as we'll look at shading and dates, as well as text and values. So we have, in addition to AutoSum, we have some very quick functions such as minimum, maximum, average, and count. So they work pretty much the same as AutoSum does. So I'm going to say number of values, or I'll say number of salespeople or something like that. And I'm just going to, I can also resize a column by double clicking between the columns. That will resize the one to the left to match the most amount of content in that cell, the widest piece of content. So if I double click on that, you see it makes it just a little bit wider than the number of salespeople. And I'm going to say equals. Again, you choose the cell where you want the value to appear, and then you type in equals, and I'll say count, and then bracket. And then what I do is I select my range. So I have my bracket started here. I can just click and drag to select my range. And you can select any range. This one makes the most sense, of course. But if you wanted, for example, this number, you could hold down Control. Say maybe you wanted this one, this one, this one, this one, that one. So you can select adjacent cells as well, or you could select that cell, and if you wanted some more, you could select those as well. I'm holding down Control as I drag. So I want this range, but again, the sky's the limit as far as what you select. Again, if you want to select non-adjacent ranges, you hold down Control. So I can select all of that stuff. Of course, it doesn't make sense in this situation, so I want just that. So once I'm happy with my formula, I'm going to close bracket. That's Shift 0 on my keyboard, and I press Enter, and it counts 6. I could go ahead and autofill this across. You'll see right now it says count B3 to B8. It'll be C3 to C8 in this column, D3 to D8 in this column, E3 to E8. Of course, the count's going to be the same in all of those, right? We also have average, so you can see the average of all sales. So sales average. So that is equals, and then it's average. Notice as I type, a little drop-down menu appears. So if I want to select average, I click on my drop-down, and then I can hit Tab. It selects that average from that list. And then again, I select my range, making sure I don't select that number of salespeople, because that will decrease my average, of course. Close bracket, Enter, and this one is useful to autofill. So again, when I autofill, it'll be C3 to C8, so it increments. So we also have the maximum, so the highest number there. So that is equal max. We just use the abbreviation. And again, as I type in the M, this drop-down list pops. If I want to access one of those items in the list, I just use my down arrow to select it, and then I hit Tab on my keyboard, and that'll select it plus give me the bracket. And then I can make my range selection. Again, that one is most correct, but we're not limited to that. Close bracket, Enter, and again, I'll autofill that across. And then I'll also say lowest sale. So that is equal, you guessed it, min for minimum. So again, I type in M, I can use my down arrow, or I could just double click on it from a list. I'm just going to double click on it this time. That's usually what I do. It pops in that bracket just like using Tab, and I'll select my range, close bracket, and Enter, and autofill. Now you'll notice for some reason that it extended this border as I added more content, but not the other border. So if I want to add a border to everything again, just in the same manner, I can just choose this one here. That's the last command I used. Initially I selected it, all borders here, but that's the last one I used, so I can just click on that. Adds all borders. I'm just going to quickly, in accounting, we usually have a thick black line before a total and a double line below a total. So I'm just going to add that. So you can see you can add individual borders as well. So I'm going to select from B7. And by the way, when you select, you'll notice that your cursor is a big fat white arrow. White plus sign, I should say. And then I'll choose my drop down here, and I want a thick bottom border. So that adds that border on top of the other borders. So it doesn't clear all those other borders, the other three other borders, it just adds that in addition to. And I'll do the same thing for the total, but I'll put a double border. So I'll click on my drop down, and you see we have a bottom double border because that's very common. We could also change the shading. So maybe if I want to change the shading on these column names to make them stand up a little better, we have this little fill tool. If you click on the drop down, you get a choice of around, it's around 200 colors. I'll choose this pale blue, and I can change that one to be a different fill as well. So that's borders and shading, as well as adding individual functions. I'm going to quickly show you dates as well. So dates are a little bit tricky with Excel. The one thing you want to be very careful about is that you delimit your month and day properly and your year. I'm looking at my system tray on my operating system, and my date arrangement is set to day, month, year. So if I express that arrangement in a cell with separated by delimiters, so you can use a dash, a slash, you can't use a space, but a dash, a slash is a good delimiter to use, and then Excel will understand that value as a date, and then we can format that value as a date. So what I'm going to do is just add the previous 5 days. So we're on the 9th of March 2021 right now, so I'll add the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th. So I'm going to type in, again, I'm day, month, year on my workstation, so I'm going to type 4/3/21. And it added a 2021, so I can rest assured that it understood that as a date. Now I want to add some additional dates, so I can actually just autofill that down. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? Now we can also format these differently, just like we can with currency. So if I choose this little drop down here and choose more number formats, we have a bunch of different formats at our disposal. These little asterisks mean that you have to enter them as our system is set up. So for me, it's day, month, year. So my favorite format to use is, of course, this one. It's very obvious what day of the year that is. Just numbers and whatnot aren't so obvious to me, so I like this one. So if I choose this one and choose OK, you see it formats all of those quite nicely with a full month name. We can tell which is the month, which is the day, and of course which is the year. So that's a little bit about dates. So in this video, again, we looked at a couple of additional functions: count, average, min, max. We did some additional formatting with shading, individual borders, and formatted some dates. Thanks so much for watching.